So before any of you probably ask, you're probably wondering, what the hell does Hijikata have against Toyohisa? Because if you know anything, Hijikata, he's in the 1800s, while you have Toyohisa, he's like in the 1600s. And you're probably wondering, how the hell does Hijikata know Toyohisa? Well, to be exact, it's not really that Hijikata knows Toyohisa, it's that Hijikata knows Toyohisa's family, his clan. And it's thanks to Toyohisa's family is to what happened to Hijikata in his Shinsengumi, eventually in the future. And so, if you know anything about some of the history of Japan and stuff, you'll know why Hijikata completely dislikes Toyohisa, or why he hates his clan in the first place, and why he wants to kill him at the end of the episode, is because of that. So, with that being said, if any of you are kind of confused why this man knew Toyohisa, it wasn't because he knew Toyohisa, it's because he knew Toyohisa's, family. And I want to mention, in this episode, Toyohisa was able to predict what was going to happen maybe 10 years to hundreds of years later, what would happen to his clan. He even stated eventually his clan would be annihilated. And that is why Jermaine was completely shocked, why the Saint was. He's like, whoa, and he was just completely thrown for a loop. He's like, what the hell, you managed to predict something that didn't happen maybe like 200 years later. How the hell did you do that? While you're in the midst of a battle and you're running away, how did you manage to figure something like that out in the, long term? That's freaking crazy. So Toyohisa's showing that he does have some good thinking skills. He can understand the situation of how things go in the battlefield and how things will turn out for his, family or his entire army, and how he was able to predict that was what really shocked Jermaine, because he's like, holy hell, this man knew. And Hijikata, the reason why he's mad with, Toyohisa's family is thanks to Toyohisa's family doing all the things they did when they were ruling, and also causing what happened to the Shinsengumi in the future. So with that being said, now that I've clarified that, let's talk about the details of this episode. Let's talk about Oda Nobunaga. This man was probably one of the big highlights of this episode, along with Toyohisa, obviously, but Oda Nobunaga, what he did in this episode showed how good of a commander he is, and that scene with him just being very calm as his soldiers are firing the guns, and then they're having to reload, and he's like, hey, you need to take your time. He's like, I don't need to say nothing, just calm down. Take your time, they need to do it properly. That's what he's saying. He's saying it in his mind. And when you see this man straight up saying, take your time, putting the gunpowder in and all that, making sure it's all reloaded, I don't need you rushing and making it sloppy, you see how he was just thinking in his mind. He was trying to stay calm, but he realizes this was a life or death situation. If, they weren't to reload fast enough, the soldiers could have rushed in and killed them instantly, and that would have spelled GG right then and there. And that's why he was kind of scared, why he was sweating, but he also remained calm. Because, one of the biggest things you don't want to do if you're a commander or any type of leader is to freak out and then freak out your subordinates. And that's what he didn't want to do. He remained calm and was trying to make sure he put on a good image that everything would be fine. And so I just love the inner thoughts of Oda Nobunaga throughout this episode. The one scene when he realizes what he did wrong, how he let, his old attitude, and how he got too, I guess, prideful. He let his, overall attitude just get the best of him as he was dealing with Rasputin. He was able to just kind of say certain things that he normally wouldn't say, and he realized, holy shit, I went too far. I went back into my old ways, and I need to correct this and stuff. I don't need to do that anymore. I love how he's trying to fix his mistakes from the past, which goes back into what I said earlier a couple episodes ago, with how, at first glance, this series looks like it's using historical characters to make a story. But it's not just that. The writer is taking it a step further. The writer is developing these historical characters in allowing them to learn from their mistakes, what they did wrong in their lives. For instance, Oda Nobunaga, he was constantly betrayed. Some people didn't like him. They didn't trust him at all. He was called the Demon King. And, this man knows his problems. He realized what was wrong with him. And he's, is changing. He is developing. And you see in this episode where he realizes what he said to Rasputin, he's like, holy crap, what I said, I shouldn't have said. That was way too far. I just, got too far ahead. I shouldn't have done that. And that just shows you that he's trying to learn from his mistakes. Toyohisa, he showed also how he's a lot different from, a normal historical character. He's like, I kind of predict what's probably going to happen to my family. Everybody's probably dead. They're going to be hunted down and stuff because of what happened in that war. And he did kind of guess the future correctly. So, I mean, overall, some of these characters and the way they're developing, they're taking a different path compared to what their historical counterparts were, which is good, because this means that these are not just the standard historical Oda Nobunaga or Toyohisa or any of these type of characters. They're not the standard historical character. They are now becoming their own character. And also, Toyohisa, what he did in this episode, it shows how he's a type of commander that can really go in and be completely savage. For instance, what Rasputin was doing, he was using his puppets, he was just manipulating people and stuff, and Toyohisa, he didn't even give a shit. He didn't even acknowledge the apparition, which, you know, Rasputin was. He just walked past him and just started kicking this man in the face, just kicking him constantly, and just making sure this man was dead, and he was completely ignoring, you know, Rasputin, the puppet master, and that was a complete disgrace for him. I mean, you gotta remember this, okay? As a puppet master, being completely ignored, or someone's ignoring what you're doing, or just being ignored in general, even if you're not a leader, it's fucking rude. It's annoying as hell when someone doesn't even acknowledge you, they don't even talk to you, they just walk fucking past you like, fuck you, and they just go beating someone up and all that. That will annoy the fuck out of you, and that's exactly what happened. Toyohisa, he didn't give no shit. It's not that he was trying to be rude, it just didn't process in his mind. And Oda, he was looking at what Toyohisa was doing, he's realizing, holy crap, this man, that could be a good thing and a bad thing what he's doing right now, how he's ignoring the puppet master and going after these people. And so it shows his different traits of Toyohisa that is good and bad, how he has some flaws, but also Oda acknowledges his own flaws as well. So these little things going on throughout this episode is developing these characters, along with the armies they have under their command. Let's look at what, you know, these characters have right now. Toyohisa, he has the dwarfs. He has the dwarfs with, you know, the axes, battle axes, and different things like that. Most likely shotguns as well, if they eventually make those. And then you have it to where Oda Nobunaga, he has Saint Germain's, you know, entire army. And yes, the army Saint Germain made, that you saw, the 500 warriors, that's actually a real army. Now, not the people in the army right now that we see, but that was a real army he made in the past. It was an army that was a really well-known army, very strong, and it was something you would never want to underestimate. And so before you thinking that was just something that was made up on the spot in this episode, it definitely was not. So Saint Germain's army was in Oda Nobunaga's service, and they were using guns, and that firing squad, completely OP, because you gotta remember, this changes how combat will be from now on. And what Oda said is truly what is really going to happen. When he said, when you fire these guns, you're making history right now. You are changing history. When you fire these guns, you're the first people to fire guns in this world, and you're also the people that are going to be the first, but there's going to be hundreds of millions after you, hundreds of millions of guns after you. Even if we were to die, there's going to be hundreds of millions of these guns eventually made. And he's stating, you're at the critical changing point of history and how warfare is done in general. And the way he does that, and he goes about, you know, discussing this and how, you know, when they fire them guns for the first time, very powerful execution when it comes to that scene. When they just go loading off, you just hear the gunfire, and they're shooting people down, you just see them dropping, and then you see the next wave come in, and the way Oda explains it, it makes so much sense. I mean, it's how real life would be. You know, if someone didn't know what a gun was, and you were rushing in with armor, this fully plated armor and all that, and you feel like you can take anything, take swords and shit, and you'll be completely fine, and you're rushing in and all that, you got shields up, and all of a sudden, you just hear this loud BAM sound, and it just blows through your shield, straight for your armor, and kills a guy, and I mean, you see this happen to a person in front of you, you're gonna be freaking out. You're gonna be like, what just happened? Like, what the hell? This is freaking armor I have on. How did I die? Or how did that guy die? That's gonna freak people out. I mean, if you don't know what a gun is, and you see how just these people are dropping left and right to have this full body gear on, it's gonna scare you. And so, what Oda was saying makes a lot of sense. If they don't know what a gun is, and he fires it for the first time, they won't know how to react to it. They won't obviously fear the gun until after it fires. And when they see the devastation, the next go around with a gun, it's gonna make the, you know, warriors just, you know, freeze up. They're gonna be like, what the hell? They're not gonna know what to do because they're going to get killed. And that's exactly what will happen and what did happen. And the way Oda went about his strategy as well, he was talking to Ominu and how he's like, hey, you need to, you know, do this, you know, tell Toyohisa to go in, you know, tell Yoichi to go in with his archer squad. It was just a really good execution of tactics and how you could overcome your opponents. And once again, I want to discuss that Oda, the reason how this is being able to be done in the first place is thanks to him being able to learn about how to make guns quicker, but also gunpowder, and on top of that, how to use the crystal balls, communication. So the combat is forever changed right now in this world. It's never going back to what it once was. It's not going to just be about swords. It's not going to just be about full body armor and shields. It's not going to be just cavalry, because, I mean, you got to remember, even guns, if a horse is charging, all they have to do is a firing squad shoot the horse, the rider falls off. So even cavalry won't be as strong as it once was. So what Oda's doing right now, it just changes the whole battle plan and what to expect in the future. So with that being said, I think overall this episode of Drifters was a solid episode. I mean, it really was a battle-focused episode, just focusing on what was going on with, Toyohisa to Oda Nobunaga, and also Yoichi, how they were showing their different squads and how they would fight in the future. And this feels more like a prologue and a setup to what is to really come. I mean, if you think about Drifters right now, we're just now accomplishing the mini-goal just to get started to fight, the Black King's army. We're just capturing an empire where they can have their own army and go up against the end. So it's like this is a prologue. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.